welcome back to Anime Death Spiral, the only anime podcast made with 100% Jamaican rum. Now, I tell you what, I do love myself a tiki drink. Remy, you like tiki drinks?
Now, is that somehow related to tiki torches? Because I seem to remember something bad happening with those.
Listen, I know that guys that look like us that are into video games and anime probably don't have the best association with tiki torches. That is 100% true. No, tiki drinks, the drink subculture couldn't be farther from that tiki torch reality you're talking about.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
No, it's a chill environment. It welcomes all. It has no space for the intolerant within the confines of tiki.
The paradox of tolerance. The tiki fandom reveals itself yet again as the hypocrites they are.
Has anyone considered that tiki enthusiasts are the real fascists?
I have, but I consider anything, like any kind of residual culture from the 50s and 60s, to kind of be fascist tinged in some way, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's absolutely a heaping spoon of colonialism kind of like strewn about the DNA of tiki culture, right?
I mean, isn't tiki stuff like a bunch of shit white explorer wannabes brought back from like Fiji or whatever?
Kind of. It's more like that is a specific brand. That's the idea that they wanted to sell you. But really, tiki was mostly like LA insurance salesmen and like studio execs, right? That would go out for a lunchtime drink or whatever. They were basically a theme bar, right? I mean, they are a theme bar, but before theme bars was like a general genre. It was like, all right, let's go to the tiki place. They have air conditioning and plants inside.
I'm sick of the steakhouse. Let's go somewhere that has fruits and plants and shit.
What I'm saying is that there's this idea that tiki originated in the Caribbean or in Hawaii or Polynesia, right? Where no, that was just it was the image of those places that one specific scene in like New York and DC and LA were doing in the 50s and 40s. They were trying to sell that idea of kind of like an exotic getaway, but right here at home.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I get that part. Like how all brothels are like Parisian themed.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, as a consumer of video games and anime, I understand the need for and brothels. I only go to Moulin Rouge themed brothels, though.
Well, those are the best.
Like, I need
obviously
a very specific flavor of Parisian. It has to be very granular in that way.
Yeah, you know, a classy
What I'm
joint.
saying is that I appreciate the aesthetics of escapism. Right?
Is that what you're getting at with this tiki shit?
That's what I'm driving at with this tiki shit.
Okay.
Also, I just really like rum. I guess really that's the main point. Is that I have a drinking problem.
I see. Okay, all right. Have you been to Puerto Rico?
No, but I'm drinking Puerto Rican rum right now.
I feel like that should be your pilgrimage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a painkiller in one hand and an actual painkiller in the other.
Hell yeah.
I will go on this journey.
You know, while it's still there, right?
Well, it's still there.
I've been hearing a lot about these tropical storms.
Oh, it's gonna be that in Florida. Basically, anything south of the equator is gonna be just covered in water in the next, I don't know, 5 years.
Luckily for me, I live in beautiful California, which has been alternating between on fire and mind-bending temperature fluctuations.
Sounds like you could use a refreshing concoction of rum and tropical fruit juices and spices to take your mind off of these troubling times.
I mean, that helps. You know, I've been getting back into Magic and just kind of obsessing over the minutia of deck building while the world burns around me.
Okay, here it is. See, this is where we diverge in how we deal with this kind of stuff. I, of course, resorted to drinking tropical themed beverages. You fell headlong back into the trading card addiction game, the modern gambling that is Magic.
They call it nerd poker.
Nobody calls it that. Nobody calls it that. First of all, because regular poker is for nerds.
It kind of is, yeah.
You notice that? You ever notice that? It's like fantasy football.
You ever see this?
You ever see that?
You ever notice?
It's fantasy football is for nerds, poker is for nerds. They were two things.
Yes,
Football and poker
this is well documented.
Masculine coded things at one point. Now totally for losers.
I think they were always.
I'm just gonna say it. Football is for nerdy beta losers.
Well, football is the worst sport. I think we can all agree. And as the Olympics rages on around us, it's only been made more clear.
I want to agree with you, but baseball is just so boring to watch.
Baseball is boring, but it's not as bad as football.
Yeah, the human cost of football is much greater. I will give you that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's blood sport, which when you put it in those terms, I actually respect it a bit more.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I fully believe that we should integrate football with the great sport of BattleBots and have robotic androids tackling each other on the field.
If we ever finally wise up and get rid of the performance-enhancing ban, I do think we could easily move into robotic kind of cyborg-esque performance enhancements. Past the need for chemicals. We could be installing Wolverine-esque titanium bones, titanium plates into football players' heads instead of having to wear helmets, which decrease their peripheral vision anyway. We could add servos and motors into their knees that allow them to run faster and harder. We could create sort of a flexible spine so that they could kind of get down further and really smash into a guy's pelvis with the tip of their skull.
Now I see where you're going with this, and I'm going to extrapolate a bit further. I think the perfect form of football is just G Gundam.
Oh, I was going to say Blood Bowl, but sure.
No, keeping it on theme, although Blood Bowl is funnier in its own right. I do like Blood Bowl. But I think G Gundam sums it up just a bit better, especially when the American-themed Gundam in that series. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did he have a football? I think he had a football. Did that giant robot throw a football at some point?
Did he have a football? I don't remember a football.
Anyway, I do think that football should be played by giant mechs on an international stage. Preferably without any rules, where it's just them fighting each other.
Yeah, I guess I just think it's the rules themselves that create the game, and the rules of football are just dog shit, like very bad. They're just really dumb and bad, and boring.
I still don't know how to play football. Like, I grew up with my dad. Like, he's super into football. I played flag football in middle school. I have no idea how it works. I just ran in the direction that they told me to, and no one ever threw the ball to me.
I got spared that. Actually, that is the one thing. That might be why I like baseball slightly more, because I was spared from the football by playing Little League baseball, which I did have the absolutely quintessential American experience of playing in the outfield.
Yep.
They put me in like left field.
They put you way out there.
And then I did catch a fly ball directly with my nuts. No cup for little leaguers. So that happened. That definitely happened.
Oh man, classic humor.
Yeah. So Ice Shield 2021.
Never watched it. Seemed boring. I don't like football.
Done by Murata, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, of the One Punch fame.
Yes, and I know it's 21, not 2021. I'm trying to be funny, okay?
He was trying to do a joke. It didn't land well.
Don't be pedantic.
Be nice to him, okay, people? Just be nice to him.
I'm not even paying attention. I'm putting together a deck right now, so sorry if I miss a couple things. I'm just trying to get my black-white perfect. It's a combination sacrifice healing
hold
deck.
on.
Hold on.
Sorry to cut you off on this, Rainbow, but I am getting some breaking news.
Oh, God.
Breaking anime news.
No, not anime news.
Yes, breaking anime news. Now, we mentioned briefly last week that the Netflix data vaults were cracked. Some horrible thieves leaked the first episodes of Ranma 1/2 and the new Dandadan anime adaptation.
These despicable hackers dared to target the innocent, lovely Netflix offices.
Now, we are now just getting a description of these horrendous criminals. It was a trio, it says. It seems 3 men in their late 20s to early 30s. One wearing a hat with a beard, kind of like a trilby hat. The other one wearing a green jacket, and then one dressed as a samurai.
A rogue trio of cosplayers somehow outsmarted the geniuses that work at the Netflix offices to smuggle out the hotly anticipated new Netflix series, Dandadan and Ranma 1/2.
I mean, I do really like to imagine that it was a wacky Ocean's 11, 12, or 13-esque heist. You know, a real goof 'em up type situation.
Sure.
With high tension stakes, you know, people dodging lasers, ducking around corners, doing elaborate disguises and confidence games.
Absolutely.
With the executives at Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be fantastic. Unfortunately, it's almost always that somebody forgot to change the default password on one of the admin accounts, which is almost certainly what happened here.
Hey, did anyone change the password from 0000? No? I'll do a Monday.
The old free Coke in the vending machine trick.
But be that as it may, the cats are out of the bag now. Actually, did you see that Netflix announced that they were going to be taking decisive legal action once they find out who did this? Those were their exact words.
No, don't do that. No, Netflix.
Come on, Netflix. They're just little guys.
That's sore loser shit. That's sore loser shit.
They lost fair and square, and now those series are out on the internet. People have seen them. People like you and I.
Well, I've only heard somebody describe it in excruciating detail. I would never do anything.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking in a metaphorical sense. Someone relayed these details to us via elaborate Morse code and light flag signals.
Yes, much like the series How I Met Your Mother. Somebody told me the precise details of every single second of an event in their life, which was, instead of meeting someone's mother, watching a leaked episode of Dandadan.
Now, I also was described the same episode, and I have some, feelings about the way they decided to frame certain shots in the episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe it's just me. I like to think that most of the time I'm not a massive creep and or pervert. And so in that light, it did make me feel a bit weird that they decided to linger on the female lead's declothed body, like in so many shots.
Declothed?
Yeah.
Is that like the unalived of manga nudity? She was declothed.
I'm getting ahead of the censors. They don't even know what I'm trying to censor about myself yet.
Well, since you're such a tiki aficionado, why don't you describe her as unrobed?
Unrobed, the unrobed teenager in the episode.
Too late. I've seen everything.
But yeah, I don't know. We were talking a bit about that, and it seemed unusual for Science Saru, the studio, because their other works don't really have that kind of like male gazy thing going on for the most part, to my memory. You know, tell me if I'm wrong here, but the stuff that I've seen, the other stuff that I've seen from Science Saru, is mostly devoid of like creep shots for the most part. As we speak, I'm watching Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken for the first time, and I'm absolutely in love with that show. That is like, it's exemplifying everything that I like about anime and animation in general. And so it's weird to see them go from something like that to playing to the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're a very mixed bag. I would say this is not outside of their realm of expertise. I mean, this is the company that animated on Space Dandy.
Fair enough. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, they worked on Devilman Crybaby, which has plenty of unrobing.
So maybe I just somehow managed to dodge all of the examples that totally disprove my statement.
I guess so. I mean, it is weird to me that you would have not watched Space Dandy.
I mean,
why wouldn't you do that?
I don't know how to explain this one away. I've tried to get into it several times. I've watched the first episode like probably on 4 separate occasions, and it does not hook me. I don't know what's wrong with my brain.
Why do you keep watching the same episode? Yeah, you're not going to get hooked if you've I've seen this before.
Is it not necessary to watch the first episode?
No, there's no story to Space Dandy. It's a show that's making fun of Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star, various space operas like that.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll go back and just start somewhere else and see if it grabs me then.
It fucking whips, dude. Space Dandy absolutely rules. But I don't blame anybody for not liking it. Obviously, this is anime as hell in all the good and bad glory that entails.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot take anime in general, because Space Dandy is anime in general. I still like it though. I think it fucking rules. It's actually funny. It has some of the best animation ever. Straight up.
That was also a Watanabe, right? Shinichiro Watanabe did that one.
Yeah. Well, it was Shinichiro Watanabe
taking the piss out of his own genre.
Yeah, going I can do, now that I am Shinichiro Watanabe, I can just do whatever I want. Why don't we just do a series that is just whatever the fuck we want? And of course, Shingo Natsume and Masaki Yuasa, of course, worked on this too because of the Science Saru connection. So there's, like I said, some of the best animation in all of anime happens to sit within episodes of Space Dandy. So sometimes, it's worth it to power through just to see the best possible animation, modern animation that exists,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But, it's they've worked on a lot of stuff in smaller regards, too, They even did episodes of Adventure Time and OKKO.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Some of the best episodes of Adventure Time.
Yeah.
The Circle of Life one is still one of my favorite episodes of all time.
Yeah, Food Chain.
Yeah, Food Chain. Okay, so with that in mind, though, what did you think of the first episode of Dandadan?
Well, as I understand it, Nate.
As we understand it. Again, this is all in second person, relaying information.
Yeah. Legal, is that? Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up.
Yeah.
I understand your reticence about that particular scene. This is, of course, incredibly accurate to the manga, which is why I do not blame anything about this on Science Saru. They do make their choices, but again, we are living within a modern anime context, and frankly, manga and anime do not get made in the current milieu without putting a naked teenager in the first issue / episode. It doesn't.
Okay, well, when you put it like that, it makes anime sound like a bad thing for bad people.
It's look, we're not in the healthiest place with the run, but frankly, I mean, since I noticed you wanted to talk about some of the older stuff, it's not like we have been blameless in the last 40 years of anime either.
Oh no, and we'll get into it. Yeah, trust me, they are not blameless either.
Yes. I do think the problem that I see, putting past the sexualization of teenagers, just putting all that stuff behind us, if you will, for a second, the main problem I see with this particular approach, and this isn't just Dandadan, I think this is in particular the way that editorial works and says you need some sex in the first episode / chapter in order to keep eyeballs on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In a time where there are people like us who don't necessarily think that is always a great thing. And to be clear, there are people who think that is always a great thing. In fact, probably the majority.
I'm one in your life.
Yeah.
Like, statistically.
I will say, I think the problem with this technique is that, I mean, one, if you do not maintain the sexiness, you will lose the people who came for the sexiness. And if you put the sexiness in right at the front, you kind of lose the interest of the people who are not looking for that. You know what I mean?
I mean, everyone has to choose their audience, right? I guess at the end of the day, it depends on which one of those groups is going to be the one more willing to spend money.
Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly the problem. Because a lot of, and this is, again, not unique to Dandadan, but what Dandadan does is front load the sexiness into this episode 1, into chapter 1, and then pretty much never gets that horny again through it in its entire run. Like, it never reaches that level of horny. So I feel like, in a way, you are betraying both camps. You know what I mean? And this is the ultimate contradiction when it comes to this kind of thing. Is like, if I am super horny and I continue on to episode 2, I'm going to be like, well, what? There's nothing to be horny about in this episode. What the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I watching this then? And if I'm not super horny, I end up, well, I guess like us two, going, why did it immediately go to like the most egregious sexualization of this teenage girl right at the fucking first episode? And then I'm expected to like trust that that's going to cool off, which, I mean, I do, because I have read all of Dandadan. I'm intimately familiar with what happens. And I think Dandadan kicks ass and is like fucking amazingly good. So I do encourage everybody to watch it. But like, if I didn't know anything about Dandadan and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, it's one of these shows.
It would be a bad first impression.
It's one of these shows that doesn't really trust its premise enough to like just give it to us. They have to also like throw in this horny bait shit so that like I don't lose, it doesn't lose my attention.
Sure.
And I would feel like, that does not speak to the confidence of the show. So, I mean, that's my big thing about that particular moment, is that they created this thing which does not really appease either camp. But outside of that, this shit looks great. It just it looks great. It's a slam dunk.
So we've heard.
It's a fucking slam dunk. According to the people who described it to me in detail, it fucking looks awesome. The animation is fantastic.
Yeah, I have heard that it looks absolutely beautiful, and that the opener in particular is a lot of fun to look at. I've heard it described favorably to the opener of Keep Your Hands Off Isaacin, which also one of the all-time greats in my opinion. I love that opener.
Gee, weird. What a coincidence.
Yeah. What a coincidence, right?
I will say I am worried, not just because of the entire opposing dynamic I explained. I think this might be too good to be popular.
The old conundrum.
Yeah, you really, in this day and age, you really have to be kind of like aggressively mediocre.
I mean, that's why the Marvel movies are so popular. They're so aggressively mediocre, they appeal to literally the most amount of people at any one given time.
Yeah, it's that tweet about I smoke mids. Mids are loud to me. That's what the current anime scene is right now. It's like, you can't be too good. There are occasions where stuff will be great. I hate to bring it up again, but like Edge Runners really fucking nailed it and was a breakthrough, I think. But even something as breakthrough and popular as Edge Runners isn't cracking My Hero Academia numbers.
No.
It's not cracking Demon Slayer numbers, which I don't want to sound like a hater. I think there's a lot of great animation in Demon Slayers, but it's not fucking Edge Runners. Like, not even close.
No, it's nowhere close. It's hard to be a victim of your own success, I guess.
You balled too hard.
Yeah.
You balled too hard, Dandadan.
Just like us, just like this podcast. That's why we're not popular.
Yeah.
Because we're too good.
It's true. We ball so fucking hard. People get scared off when they listen to episode 1, which is definitely our best episode, right?
Yeah, the best one we've ever done.
The best one we've ever done. I see the thing about Dandadan, unlike, let's say, Edge Runners, unlike, let's say, speaking of Science Saru, Devilman Crybaby, Dandadan is more of a traditional shonen. It's been running a long time. It's got a lot of traditional shonen arcs that can be mined for like a long running show.
Mm-hmm.
Last episode, you were talking about like who are the shonen successors. I think there is a world where like Dandadan could rise to fill up one of these spots that My Hero's demise has opened up, and Demon Slayer's demise will open up. But again, I think Dandadan is too good. It looks too good. It's too fun. I think it's too loud for the mids crowd.
Damn. If that isn't a glaring endorsement, I don't know what is.
I hope I'm wrong, because I do really like Dandadan. I think the manga is in the conversation we will continually put off about like what is the best looking manga. Dandadan is in that conversation. It looks so good. It's got such a personality, so much talent behind it. It's so good.
Is that enough about Dandadan?
I'm not sure what else to say about it when all we have to go on is leaked premieres. You know, let's revisit that when it comes out. How about that?
Yeah, let's revisit that when it officially comes out in October.
Yeah.
I'll keep this brief because I don't have a whole lot to add on to what we already talked about remakes last week. But someone who has seen the leaked episodes of the Ranma 1/2 reboot series.
Interesting.
Described the first episode to me. And as far as I can tell, it seems to be a fairly straightforward adaptation of the manga. I never watched the original anime. You watched a bunch of that anime, right? You had that on tape as a kid, right?
I watched Ranma 1/2 until my eyes bled.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of that anime versus the original manga was compressed in adaptation, or how good of an adaptation it was, but they seem to be doing the Brotherhood, the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment, going almost panel by panel. I will say the animation has been described to be really nice. The kung fu fighting is incredibly fluid and at times was in fact frightening.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Did you get scared?
I did get a little bit scared.
Did you have to go hide under a blanket?
I did have to hide under my blanket while they were doing the kung fu moves.
Oh no.
I'm not a big fan. I'm not the biggest fan of pandas. I don't like the way they look. I don't like it when they show up in the things that I read or watch. That's why I'm such a huge Jujutsu Kaisen hater. I hate Panda in that, and I hate the panda in this.
Well, he's not really a panda.
No, even worse. He's a grumpy old man who's bald. The worst kind of bear.
Yeah, if you don't like pandas, though, there is a lot of variety. I mean, there's a pig.
They haven't shown the pig yet.
He'll get there.
I will say that just the concept of Ranma 1/2 is kind of interesting, because you had described to me before that the main character, Ranma, is, for someone whose entire identity as a character is based around the inability to fully control which gender they are at any given time, they are incredibly neutral in that presentation. Ranma's entire personality is Kung Fu Dude.
Yeah.
Like, whether they're boy or girl mode, they are just about the Kung Fu, which I respect in a lot of ways. I like dedication to a craft. I like seeing people, hone their abilities. I like seeing cool Kung Fu moves. It seems like a weird thing to not engage with as prominent as it is in the story.
Well, you have to remember the context where Ranma comes from.
Right. Which is the 80s.
Yeah, this is an 80s creation. It's a gender swap comedy snafu.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, it's a complete gag. It's a complete gag comic made into a gag anime. And like I said last time, Ranma himself is almost entirely sexless. He's not particularly interested in anything gender related to begin with. Occasionally he finds it like inconvenient to turn into a woman. Mm-hmm. And of course there's some 80s style misogyny, of course.
Of course.
Hard to avoid there. But I think the character of Akane does a lot of pushback on a lot of the female stereotypes that come around. This is, of course, Rumiko Takahashi's second most popular creation.
Well, this is also, coming on the tails of the success of the Urusei Yatsura reboot.
Well, yes, I was going to say Inuyasha, but sure.
Oh, well, Inuyasha is obviously the number one, which is what we are moving towards, by the way, with these. We are absolutely going to be getting an Inuyasha Brotherhood coming up next. It's in the future.
We just had Yashahime. We just had the sequel series. For all I know, it's still running.
I think they're going to go back. And do it.
Maybe.
One final thing, and I don't know if this is a symptom of, obviously, the stuff that got leaked from Netflix are rough cuts of all these episodes. They have time codes, editorial notes. Some of the animation isn't totally complete in places. But being an 80s gender gag comedy, obviously you start right off the bat with a bath mix-up scene, right? Akane.
A bath mix-up. Iconic bath mix-up.
Akane walks in on Ranma thinking that she is a girl only be encountered by a nude male. And in both cases, all parties are drawn full Barbie Ken doll mode. No nipples. And what's more, no butt cracks, which was kind of weird.
They're not cheeked up.
They have no cheeks or what can only be described as a mono cheek. So I don't know if that is a stylistic choice or if that is just a symptom of being rough cuts of these episodes.
I hope they fix that. These two martial artists deserve their cake. Mm-hmm. They put a lot of work in, My Ranma is cheeked up.
Your Ranma's got cheeks.
Absolutely. And I think Akane deserves cheeks as well. She put in a lot of work. She's been a martial artist her entire life, fighting off the constant women can't be martial artists accusations. She's maybe not as skilled as Ranma, but he comes from a very unique background, so I think we can forgive the discrepancy there.
I mean, sexists only have two talking points, really. Women can't be martial artists, and women can't have two butt cheeks. They're always going on about that.
I know, it's weird, right? The obsession with butt cheeks. It's like, what's wrong with these guys?
All right, can I move on? We've talked a lot about remakes so far, last episode and today. And with that in mind, I actually decided to go back and look at some older anime. And I'd like to talk about a couple things that I watched.
Oh, interesting.
Can I do that? Can I do that? Is that okay with you?
Sure, absolutely. Let me just show you one thing first.
Oh no. All right, what's he got?
Let me just show. I've got one more thing I want to show you.
Oh no, he's doing a Columbo on me. It's just one more thing.
One more thing. This is, of course, how it's depicted in the manga.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have one pretty glaring discrepancy here.
Well, we got nips here.
We do have nips here. I don't want to make it a big thing because I know this is becoming one of those, they're censoring our anime, but, there are clearly nips involved in Ranma. Mm-hmm. Not just the anime, but in the manga, and I think it is demonstrative of sort of a neo prudishness to not even include the nips, let alone the cheeks,
the gluteal cleft, as they say.
Yes, exactly. If you want to be clinical about it, and I really hate to sound like I am siding with the weirdos here, but I am against this weird neo-prudishness. I do think Ranma and Akane should be cheeked up and nipped up unironically and sincerely.
I agree.
I think they should be.
Any dropping any pretense of doing a gag here
of neutrality.
Yeah, of neutrality. I am pro nudity.
I am with the creeps.
Not just because I'm a massive pervert in that way, but because I think it just sets a weird tone for how we view the human body, which is not original take in the conversation around nudity in media.
Yes,
but it's the side that I agree with.
I think it is absolutely a weird regressive thing that in the 80s we could have these characters be like very nonchalantly like nude and depict that in a semi-realistic way, even in a gag comic, and it was not a big deal. In fact, it's like very charming, and flipping that around is being weird. It's being weird, and it's making it weird.
If I wanted to give an unsubstantiated tinfoil hat take on that one, I think that it benefits many parties to separate nudity into an explicitly sexual camp in the way we view media, right?
Yeah.
With the way the adult media industry has grown since that time, and it was already big then, it only benefits people making money off of sexualization of the human body to restrict it to only being consumed in that context.
Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't even going in that direction. I was saying,
like I said, that's my tinfoil hat conspiracy take on it.
That's your conspiracy take.
Yeah.
My take is that being regressive about the naked body, does function the way you're describing, but it is regressive in a very conservative way, wherein it is creating stigma around like sex and sexuality, where these things are inappropriate, right? Mm-hmm. These things are dirty or wrong somehow. It's exactly the same way where, getting way too sincere about this shit, but I saw very recently, the Kamala VP pick, Tim Waltz, right? Was the teacher counselor of his high school where he taught. He was the counselor for the Gay Straight Alliance club.
Yeah, I read that.
Which is a very cool and good thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Freaks, weirdo, reactionary freaks have tried to claim that he was quote-unquote recruiting people into a gay club, right?
Well, that's just tying into their greater thing that they've been pushing about queer people being groomers, right? Trying to associate the queer community with being predatory towards minors.
Yes, but
it all just serves that narrative, which is bogus and false and dumb and stupid.
It's very stupid, but it is very politically useful for reactionaries. But I'm saying it is in the exact same way where you create the stigma around something like talking about sexuality, even in the most basic sense of like, hey, we are trying to say that if you are a guy and you're attracted to other guys, that's okay. And saying, even talking about the idea of like physical attraction is itself inappropriate for minors is absolutely reactionary and regressive, and is in my mind exactly the same thing as saying drawing a butt crack on a cartoon character is inappropriate for minors. I don't think I can divorce those two things. I think they're both regressive about sexuality in general, and they're both inherently like conservative views. And so I hate to sound like they're censoring our anime people, but that censorship is regressive and wrong, and it's helping reactionaries. So draw Akane's nipples.
Otherwise, it's literally 1984.
It's when Ranma began publishing, yes.
Okay, all right. Can I...
Oh, God. Jesus Christ. We just talked about naked teenagers for like 30 minutes. Oh, God. Please take us away from this, please.
Okay,
Jesus
all right.
Christ.
So as I was trying to say before, you brought us right back into the naked teenager conversation. I dipped my toes into some older anime, something from the early 90s, late 80s. That classic period that people always harken back to as the golden age,
yes,
right?
The Ranma 1/2 days, you could even say.
Mm-hmm. The first one I wanted to talk about here, I wanted to bring up because I think that it engages with the gender swap aspect of its story in a little bit more interesting and engaging way than Ranma did, and that's why I was thinking about it. This was a show that I happened to randomly click upon called Please Save My Planet. Have you ever heard of this before?
Please Save My Planet.
Or excuse me, Please Save My Earth. That's the title. Please Save My Earth.
Oh, even more specific.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of this.
So this is a 6-episode OVA based off of a manga series from the 80s by Saki Hiwatari. And what it is about is a group of Japanese high schoolers in the 80s keep having weird dreams where they embody the lives of alien scientists living on another planet. And as they meet up with each other and talk about these weird dreams they've been having, they kind of slowly realize that the dreams are connected and are in fact them kind of living out the lives of these other people when they go to sleep. Kind of like Your Name for a few years ago.
My Name?
Your Name. Your Name?
My Name?
No, not My Name, Your Name. Are we doing a bit here? Are we doing a Manzai bit?
Fuck, I can't remember their names. I blew it.
You blew it.
I couldn't pull their names.
All right, we're cutting that. All right, so Please Save My Earth. I think that it's interesting because...
Abbott and Costello.
Abbott and Costello, yes. The classic Manzai bit.
God damn it. Fuck.
Wow,
Were they
really...
Manzai?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, they're a classic Manzai. Big guy, skinny guy. Big guy, small guy.
Oh, fuck. That makes me sad somehow.
Somehow.
Somehow, some way.
Okay, so we center the story around the main female lead, a girl named Rin, who's having these weird dreams. And by happenstance, she happens to hear two of her classmates in conversation talking about weird dreams that they've had. And they do this kind of bit where at first it sounds like these two male classmates that she's eavesdropping on are secretly in a romantic relationship with each other, right?
Yep.
And this freaks her out.
Standard stuff.
Because it's the 80s and she's very homophobic.
Yep. Gay panic, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But then, to her relief, first of all, touching on the gay panic thing, she straight up like calls them to a Denny's to like have a sit down conversation about how she's afraid that they're gay with each other. Can you imagine?
She calls an impromptu sexuality meeting.
She calls a gay intervention on these two because she thinks that they're sleeping with each other, and they have to explain, no, we're not sleeping with each other. It's just that when we both go to sleep, we embody the lives of these other two people who are in love with each other. And so we have one guy, embodying an alien male, but then the other guy is embodying that alien's wife. And so he kind of has this weird, he almost he's ashamed of the whole thing when he's explaining it. And I think that's kind of like a more interesting take on the gender flipping thing than the way Ranma was doing it. That's just what was in my mind while I was watching it. But the rest of the episode that I watch is very uncomfortable, because beyond that, we have the main girl, Rin, who's also having these weird dreams.
Okay.
And in her dreams, her alien person that she's like living her dream life through also has like a partner, a husband. And throughout the episode, we're supposed to be wondering, like, oh, which one of her classmates is the last person? Which one is the one that she's been in love with in her dream life, right?
Okay, you're blowing my mind a little bit for two reasons.
Okay.
One, the hey man, what if your whole life is an alien's dream? is like the second stoner cliche behind like, what if we don't see the same red? Which is really fucking funny to me. And the other one is that this is so similar to Bokura no Kiseki, that story about the character who keeps dreaming that he is a princess in a fantasy land, and then discovers like all of his other classmates also dream about being these characters in this other fantasy land.
Yeah, it's
and then they discover that it's real.
I mean, it's pretty much that.
Is really wild to me.
Very similar. This was published from 1986 to 1994 is when the original manga was published. So I don't know how that lines up to Boku no Kaiseki. I'm assuming...
Well, Bokura no Kiseki is still running, so...
Okay.
I mean, draw your own conclusion.
And here's what I was getting at with saying that it was uncomfortable. At the end of the episode, or throughout the episode, she has been having these run-ins with the bratty neighbor kid, right?
Oh, brat.
She wants to go to the mall with her friends, but she has to babysit the bratty neighbor kid. And when she tries to tell him what to do... he won't listen to her. He's running around the house. He's throwing shit.
Wow, that is so 80s.
Yeah, it's very 80s. They do two things. They do two things that really took me by surprise.
Uh-oh.
The first thing is that... Actually, three things. I'm going to take that back. Three things. First thing is that he straight up spits in her mouth at one point.
Oh, ew, what the hell?
So he's a really shitty kid.
Jesus Christ.
And second, after he spits in her mouth, she straight up yeets him off of a 5th-story balcony onto the ground.
Wait, what?
Yeah. She's babysitting him. He's being a little brat. He spits in her mouth. While he's he's straddling the balcony in his apartment, being a shit, saying, "You can't tell me what to do." And she straight up slaps him across the face, and he falls off the building. And you're left to think like, oh, some weird supernatural like event is going to save him at the last minute. The aliens that they've been dreaming about are going to make their appearance. No, he fucking falls off the building
and dies
and is in the hospital because he breaks his head.
Oh, I see. I immediately flashed to the beginning of the most recent Halloween movie where the babysitter just kills the kid.
It's basically that. It's not too different. And then the third final thing is they reveal that her alien husband, if you haven't guessed already, the kid, the little 7-year-old brat, has been having the alien husband dreams.
And
the reason that he's so shitty to her is because he can't process his weird little kid crush feelings on her.
No.
Yeah.
No. No, I reject that. That can't be... Oh, God. Jesus Christ. No, I hate that.
Yeah, it was very weird. I didn't watch any more of it, but I thought it was worth mentioning as just something weird that I happened to click upon in my findings.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's considered somewhat of a classic manga. 21 volumes, ran for almost a decade. I don't know. It was on my mind just with... I like the idea of like having to come to terms in this sci-fi story of where you're trying to figure out like, all right, why are we having these weird dreams? And then at the same time, having like these weird personal self-image feelings with this one character because everyone else is like their dream person matches their gender. And he just has to deal with being like his friend's wife in the dream world.
Sure.
and it doesn't always, it's not like they don't play it like a gag. Like, it's something this character feels deeply conflicted about, and I like that they looked into it a bit more than the way Ranma did. I don't know. That was Please Save My Earth.
Wow. Well, I will say if you like the idea of that, Bokura no Kiseki is, I think, a much more interesting take on that with kind of a central mystery that drives the plot, being that we kind of get flashes of this fantasy world event, and then we slowly get to unravel the mystery of like who these characters match up to in this high school. And there is a lot of like gender swapping in that one. And it is never played as a gag. It is actually played as part of the mystery. You can never be sure that someone is someone else just because their gender matches up. So there is a lot of that stuff. And when they do find out that like they are, you know, maybe a different gender in the fantasy world or whatever, or now in the real world, however you want to see this kind of transmigration of the soul, it is never treated as if it's like weird or icky. It is treated as like, oh, this is a thing that happened and is something that I am now dealing with in my life, right? And it happens to create lots of really weird and interesting relationship dynamics, you know? I think Bokura no Kiseki, like, absolutely kicks ass. It's very good.
Yeah, that sounds like the shit that I do like.
Yeah, and it takes this concept, whoa, man, what if, like, we're just an alien's dream? And it brings it into, like, a really weird, interesting context that I think actually makes use of that premise a lot better than what you are describing to me. But then again, who knows? I mean, neither of us dived into this thing, so.
No, not super hard. I think that's enough. That's enough about weird anime and their weird takes. Let's take a break. I need a break here.
Okay.
Welcome back to Anime Death Spiral. We are on Egg Watch 2024. Remy, you watching some eggs these days?
You know, I'm mostly concerned with Witch Watch these days, which does have a confirmed anime announcement.
What?
I will pay attention.
Witch Watch?
Witch Watch.
Which watch are you talking about?
You would like that. It's a lot of dudes fighting over the same girl, and that feels like up your alley.
Oh, because I'm a loser.
Because you're a cuck.
Oh, it's true.
Speaking of friends, I wanted to talk about something in particular this episode.
Oh.
What do you think about that, Nate?
I don't know. It depends on what you want to talk about. If you want to talk about anime, I think I'm for it. If you want to talk about like
you being
maybe
a cuck?
some less monetizable topics, we may have to put a stop to that.
Okay.
So I don't know. Give me your pitch.
Well, it does have to do with an anime and a manga, so we're off to a good start there.
Okay. All right. I'm listening.
Starting off on the right side of the bed. This concerns something that happened recently. And what happened recently was a long-running manga series that I have been reading for a while now came to a sudden and abrupt end.
You're talking about Don't Bully Me Nagatoro-san, which unfortunately had its last chapter not a week and a half ago. Rip to one of the greats. I'm truly in mourning right now.
I would never say that to be a sudden, abrupt end because, like, didn't we get the idea after, like, 3 episodes?
Okay, so you must be then referring to the sudden and abrupt announcement of the end of Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable. That's what you're talking about.
I feel like that's kind of in the same boat as Nagatoro. Like, didn't we kind of get the idea after 3 episodes? Like, where does that story go?
I didn't get to see all of the gals in Hokkaido. How do I know that they're all super adorable?
Wait, but you got pretty far though, right? Wasn't there like 5 or 6 of them?
I mean, do you think there's only 5 or 6 gals? Hokkaido's a big place. You ever seen it on a map?
I read like the first 5 or 6 chapters of that. They made it very clear that they were at a rural high school with very few students.
Okay, all right. So then obviously you're referring to the impending end of Sono Biscuit Doll, right? Because that's on its way out too.
Is that ending?
It's definitely on the trajectory towards it, although I don't want to scare anybody. It's not been officially announced that we're in the final arc, but we are.
They run out of characters to cosplay as?
I think that the author ran out of things to say about cosplay. I think that maybe they are mercifully ending it instead of just making it become a revolving door of ever more scantily clad cosplay pieces.
I would like to think that the author had a crisis of conscience and was like, I need to stop this. What am I doing?
And their heart grew 3 times that day.
I am, of course, referring to the abrupt end of Tomodachi Game.
Oh.
Tomodachi Game.
The friend game.
The friend game.
Or as you Yanks like to call it, frenemies, the anime.
It was, believe me, there are plenty of wordplay transliterations that happen that sailed over the translators' heads over and over again. And that's not speculation. They wrote in the translation notes, I don't know how to translate this.
That's good, though. That's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was good. They're making a pun that I do not understand how to write in English. It just doesn't translate. I was like, okay, yeah, fine.
I mean, at that point, I think a good translator should be able to draw out the essence of the pun and just write something as a placeholder that does work in English, right?
I mean, they did, but you have to understand that as like you are very literally losing something.
You're losing context, not only in the language and the way it's structured, but also the cultural context of the way the words are used. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And something happens near the end that kind of like it does sort of rely on this like clever use of kanji, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and you know, anybody who's read manga for a while knows that this happens a lot, and you just will be left with a very long translator's note and nothing satisfying. So that's just, it happens.
It happens. Oh, it happens.
Yes. Tomodachi Game. I've been reading this for a long time. You'll remember like way back when I was talking about death games, one of the 100 times I was talking about death games, I said this is one of my more liked ones. Tomodachi Game had a brief anime run. It apparently was not popular enough for a follow-through. I do not see the end of the manga like propelling it to more anime, so unfortunately I don't know if I can recommend like watching it unless you just want to get the idea. But Tomodachi Game in brief is a gambling death game.
We bet in lives, we bet in years. What's the gambling aspect?
Well, essentially, I mean, the very literal premise is that you are betting with debt, but the actual essence of it is that you are betting with friendships. And I will explain.
I see. I like that as a premise, right?
Yes.
For a death game like this. The complete commoditization of the relationship, you know?
Yes. Something I really like about Tomodachi Game is it essentially poses the question that gets asked subtly in a lot of gambling death games where debt is involved. It asks you, you know, what do you care more about? In this case, friends or money. In a lot of debt games, it's the question is like your humanity or money. And that's kind of transposed here as friends or money. What's worth more to you?
When you put it like that, I think that I could, if I was thinking in those terms, I think that I would be more inclined to abandon my humanity for a monetary or material reward versus having to abandon actual like connections or relationships and having to live with that consequence.
Yeah.
Because when you abandon your humanity, that's basically saying I don't give a shit about all that stuff anyway. That's a good way to hide from those feelings. If you're actually being forced to bet relationships, put monetary value on relationships, and then have to live with those people afterwards, knowing having them know what you value your relationship at, that sounds way worse than just like being an asshole.
Yeah, you're picturing sort of a situation where it's like, if I tell you to like get down on all fours and squeal like a pig, you're fine with that. But if I tell you to make your friend do it, you're not fine with that. Or maybe you are. I don't know.
It's complicated, but yeah, let's go with that.
It's complicated,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what Tomodachi Game tries to strike at. I'm not saying it in its clumsy way. It is trying to explore that idea. And the games are all designed around the idea of breaking your friendships, making you question what is actually important, what lengths somebody would go to maintain your relationship, whether they're willing to betray you or not, that kind of thing. Whether you actually know someone in a meaningful way or not, or even if that level, that shallow level of knowing somebody is worth maintaining, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I really like this concept. Now, you know, a lot of death games, I prefer the very literal ones where people die, right? I've said this over and over again.
I mean, it does make it a bit more of a bit more fun, you know?
I think it raises the stakes a lot. You know, debt, despite living in a country that is literally drowning in debt constantly and killing people with its own debt. So I understand, you know, those stakes. I still find the way it's portrayed in manga to be less exciting.
Well, all death games are a commentary on late-stage capitalism. Capitalism moves us all towards basically our life being a constant death game of trying to get one over on each other for fun and profit.
The undercurrent of a lot of modern death games are that it is the commodification of life itself, right? Which is a very
which is funny because
metaphor.
like Battle Royale, that was not the point. That was fear of the youth, or commenting on the older generation's refusal to let go of power and using that power to oppress the youth.
Yes, willing to sacrifice young people to maintain the status quo, right?
Well, I guess when you say it that way, that is also a in-your-face condemnation of capitalism.
Yeah.
That's basically how it works, right?
Yes. You know, when everyone in Congress is 90 years old, yeah, I think it lines up.
We'll just have all the young people kill each other and reap the rewards.
Yeah. So I like this. This has a novelty built in, and not only is it an interesting twist on the debt game, it has a very interesting twist on the virtue boy protagonist. And I kind of want to talk about this in terms of like the emotional impact of a long-running series you're really invested in ending. But I also kind of want to do a little bit of a post-mortem on Tomodachi Game, because I feel like if you like that concept, you should probably just go read it, because like the moment-to-moment is very fun. But otherwise, I am going to try to kind of just like barrel through, and I am going to kind of ruin Tomodachi Game a little bit.
All right. Spoilers.
Because I want to talk this through. Yeah, I guess you could say spoiler warning. Spoiler alert? Spoiler warning?
Yeah, I like alert. It sounds more lively.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
So I want to lay it bare for you, Nate, and maybe as somebody who isn't familiar with Tomodachi Game, you could help me kind of like understand my feelings about Tomodachi Game.
All right, lay it on me.
Long-running narratives in general. The thing about Tomodachi Game, and again, extrapolating to longer narratives, is it starts with that premise, right? And the author has a very clear idea of what they want to reach at the end. So the finish line is pretty well defined. Future Remy here, just cutting in to explain that I accidentally talked about Tomodachi Game front to back for about 50 minutes straight. So I've decided to cut this down just for clarity's sake and to make sure the episode isn't 50 minutes of me rambling about the minutia of Tomodachi Game's moment-to-moment plot, which is, frankly, baffling at best. Enjoy. We start with Tomodachi Game being this debt challenge where you rope in some friends to play a game where you can work off your debt depending on how well you do in the game, right? So it's sort of like it begins at a very, very basic level. What do you value more? Paying off your debt by thrusting it on your friends, or keeping your friends out of debt by maintaining it on you, right?
Right.
So we begin with these 5 characters, and they're all pretty standard except our main guy, Yuichi. We've got smart glasses guy. We've got martial arts justice girl.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
We've got kind of dummy blonde hair playboy idiot guy. And then we have the girl who has big boobs.
Okay. That's a character trait.
Yeah, it's just that's kind of what it is. At least at the beginning here. And then we have Yuichi, who is a bit of an enigma at the beginning. Characters at the beginning of the story actually make a bunch of comments about how they don't understand why he's around, like what particular like trope he falls into, so they don't understand how he's included in the group.
Yeah,
you know?
If you can't figure out which like character trope you are, that means you're either like a nobody or you're the main character.
Yeah, or you're the protagonist of the world.
Yeah.
These characters all meet up at the school gate at night, having each individually received letters supposedly from the others that they wanted to meet up, right? Very classic setup. Extremely classic setup.
And I guess they all get there and no, I didn't send that letter.
I don't know who sent that letter. I thought you sent a letter.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And as happens whenever that happens to you, you immediately get tasered and wake up in a weird room.
I fucking hate it when that happens.
So when these characters wake up in the room, they are first immediately told one of them is the one that took the money.
Oh.
Yeah. And then they are proposed a game to play. They are told that one of them in the group has a 2 million yen debt, and they can begin working together to get rid of that debt.
I'm on the game master's side at this point.
He's an orphan. He lives by himself in a single room apartment. He spends all day after class making little tin wire roses to sell as if he's like a Matchbox orphan.
It's
very funny.
He's the little match girl. Got it.
Yes, he's a little match girl.
When he's not at school, he's out shoeless in the snow trying to hawk his weird little arts and crafts.
Yes.
I hate this guy. He sucks.
No, he's cool. I like him. He's fun. It's made pretty clear that he did not do it. He is very earnest.
Okay. See, I thought that he took the money because he was like poor and untrustworthy.
Yeah, see, you're already losing the Tomodachi game. You have already lost. You have lost in the first round.
Oh no.
Oh, y'all fucking around gonna turn me back to the old me. And he takes charge. And we see for the first time the dark side of the moon. He goes hard.
He goes beast mode a little bit.
He goes beast mode. And what he does is he essentially mentally deconstructs his friends one at a time. In the second game, they're essentially playing like Chutes and Ladders, except they play it with secrets about each other.
Okay, I'm not going to get hung up on the mechanics of that, but
yeah, don't worry about it.
Essentially, they're a game where they have to reveal secrets about each other.
Yes, so they rat all of their dirtiest shit out. This almost immediately like fucks all of them up. Smart Glasses Boy is fucking with them because he has a grudge against Justice Girl. What?
It's always the one with the glasses, you know?
And so we learn all kinds of weird stuff. We learn Tenji, the glasses kid, his dad was murdered, and I guess he doesn't have a mom for some reason. We never learn about that. They just forget that people have moms for the most part. We learned that Hot Boy, his dad is divorced from his mom and he doesn't talk to his mom anymore. We learned that Justice Girl's dad is divorced from her mom and she doesn't talk to mom anymore. We learned that the Titty Girl, her dad is not in the picture and she lives with her mom.
I'm seeing a pattern here with single parents. And so he reveals that he's a stone cold killer.
Yes. Well, it's revealed for him. His hand is forced.
Okay.
Because the person with the worst secret has to play the next game. And he's like, I am going to move on to save our friendship by letting you guys off the hook. And I hope that revealing this like doesn't break our friendship. But it definitely freaks him out. Glasses Boy reveals that two things. Justice Girl's dad, he thinks, killed his dad. And that he is the one who stole the money. It was Glasses Boy.
Of course it was Glasses Boy.
It was fucking Glasses Boy.
I knew it was him.
Yeah.
Even when I thought it was the other guy, I knew it was him.
Game 3 is explained to them as a hide-and-seek game.
Why are all these death games always like little kid games?
Because little kid games are like easy to grasp. You've probably played them yourself, so you understand kind of the logical stakes of it. And they're easy to twist, which is what happens here.
Just once, I would like a challenge in a death game to be like, all right, now you all have to play an 8-person match of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and whoever comes in last dies.
You don't want the hider to starve to death. He does what any pro gamer would do, and he pretends to give up. For like 2 days.
AFK.
Yeah, Glasses Boy essentially is starving to death. And he thinks, like, man, it would suck if I died here because I believed in Yuichi. That would suck. Essentially, he uses a honeypot to destroy the other team emotionally. The third member is a cute girl that he starts physically and emotionally abusing in front of them.
Great.
Until they all break.
Love that.
Yeah. And he wins at the last second. Yuichi is called out to a weird warehouse where he discovers that Titty Girl has been caught by like some kind of biker gang, and they're demanding that he play a game, which results in Yuichi getting the shit kicked out of him and stabbed a bunch of times and is like bleeding to death. But he does win the game because, again, he is good at this. Hot Boy is being arrested for his own father's murder.
Oh!
What?
How did that happen?
No clue. He's like straight up in a Hannibal mask. Like they're perp walking him.
They're wheeling him out on a stretcher.
Yeah. Justice Girl fucked off. No idea where she went.
She's out of here.
This looks very bad for her. We play a Tomodachi Game bonus round, which is bailing Hot Boy out of jail by collecting the trip money from the students again.
Gotta re-steal the trip money.
Yuichi again reverts to his favorite strategy, apparently, a honeypot. He tricks a male teacher into trying to sleep with Titty Girl and then catches him in the act. They get the money. They clear Hot Boy.
I feel like with all of the twisting and turning and emotional backflipping that these characters are doing, as an audience member, just hearing you describe it, like it feels like it would be easier to just stop trying to even keep track of who is supposed to be morally in the right in any of these interactions.
Well, yeah, and I think that's something you should hold on to as I move forward here. Think about that at the end here, because I think that's a big question. He is laser focused on dragging these dumb assholes across the finish line because they're his friends. And he's going to do that by fucking over anyone who gets in his way. So in Prisoner Game, we have a game of dominoes that is stapled onto the back of a werewolf game.
Werewolf game.
Wolf game. We enter a Kaiji-esque cruise liner where all the games are casino themed. At this point, Genius Boy joins the party. He goes, Yuichi is such a weirdo freak. I think I'm like in love, kind of. I want to be on the team.
Hey, damn it, I'm in.
One last game, damn it, I'm in. At this point, we learn that Justice Girl did not disappear on her own. She was, in fact, taken hostage by Tomodachi Game.
Who could have seen that coming?
And in fact, she has learned that there is the presence of a different traitor. He cheats at a game of Old Maid. Titty Girl gets mind controlled at one point. Genius Boy gets stabbed in the gut. There's a really high stakes game of which hand is the coin in. They are in fact going to play Battle Royale as the next game.
We're just gonna do a different death game manga.
We've moved on. Through a series of machinations on this one, we finally learn that it is in fact Titty Girl who is the main traitor. She's the one who set them all up to begin with.
But I thought she was kidnapped by the Tomodachi Game.
Nope. She did it herself.
Go, she got me.
Justice Girl rejoins the game in order to save Yuichi from the Titty Girl, who is now bad. She is evil now.
Oh no.
But at the last second, Hot Boy, with no explanation, also betrays the group of friends.
Well,
We have no idea why. Also, Genius Boy, off to the side, he also loses and gets thrown off a cliff by Titty Girl. That's exciting. Everybody finds themselves in a snowed-in mountain chalet. In this game, Yuichi, Justice Girl, Titty Girl, and Hot Boy are all surrounded by a group of strangers who they have to outlast through a series of challenges.
Okay.
Yuichi burns the chalet down. They have to sleep in a shed while freezing to death. One guy finds a gun that ends up in Yuichi's hands.
Watch out, I've got powers.
Yeah,
Political powers.
He literally does that. They're all shaking. He's got a blanket on. He's got his one revolver, and he's like, listen up, folks. I'm distributing the money and the power and the food and the blankets and everything is up to me now because I've got the gun.
I am the law.
He goes raw. He is like in full evil mode this entire time. It's fucking awesome. Through this entire thing, we discover an onslaught of backstory. We find out Yuichi was raised by a confidence man and a very notoriously evil confidence man.
He was raised by an evil con man.
He was raised by an evil con man to do evil cons, and he was a genius at evil conning, and that's why he has emotional manipulation powers. But at the same time, he was raised by a brilliant and caring and kind dying young woman who taught him his one axiom: friends are more important than money. We find out that he killed that confidence man that is his father, stabbed him to death. We find out that, in fact, all these weird parental relationships, Glasses Boy's dead dad, Justice Girl's alive dad, Hot Boy's dead dad, Titty Girl's alive mom, were all friends with the dying woman that was Yuichi's adoptive mother. Whoa! What? Yuichi, our boy, killed his adoptive mother. What? He killed her? That's crazy.
But I thought she taught him to be not evil.
Yeah, that's wild. Why would he do that?
That seems like a bad thing to do, an evil thing.
Yes.
Something a con man would do.
Through Titty Girl's backstory explanation of why she's crazy now, she basically just says, here's why I'm crazy now. She reveals that her parents, along with the other parents that I said were friends with the girl, were part of the original Tomodachi game. And the creator of that game, can you guess it? Who do you think created the game?
Was it the con man?
It was Yuichi as a child, as like a 6-year-old. He created the first Tomodachi game, and he's conned all of them out of their money and drove them insane and ruined their lives. Now everybody's like, oh shit, Yuichi actually is evil. That's crazy. We thought he was a friend of ours, but he's fucking insane. He killed all of our parents or drove them insane. And he killed his mom and dad. What? That's madness. And the whole time Yuichi's like, yeah, I mean, I did some pretty fucked up shit. I don't know what to tell you. No excuses. When I was 6, I was a crazy motherfucker. I don't know what else to tell you. Hot Boy's dad was alive, and he's been running the Neo Tomodachi game the whole time.
So he set up the new Tomodachi game as revenge on the 6-year-old evil genius who ran the original one?
Yes, and conned him all out of that money and killed the woman he was in love with, the dying adoptive mom, who he wanted to be with but couldn't. So he married some other woman that he didn't love.
And why did Yuichi kill his adopted mom again?
We find out that Titty Girl has actually been pretty evil and is like maybe prostituting out her own mother. That's never made clear.
They don't touch on that one.
They don't really clear it, but we do know that she was prostituting out herself at one point to Hot Boy's dad, which again does not get touched on super well at the end of the story. Kind of gloss over that one. It's personally, I wouldn't blame a 6-year-old. If you get tricked by a 6-year-old, I kind of feel like that's on you.
That's on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's if you let a 6-year-old kill you or ruin your life or steal from you, you deserved it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's hard to victim blame, but it's a 6-year-old. The whole time, Justice Girl has been sitting there going, man, I really want to believe in Yuichi, like he's my friend, but learning that he's like a 3-time murderer and like he killed both of his adoptive parents and ruined the lives of everyone I know. it's making it kind of hard to be this guy's friend.
It's like Jake from Adventure Time saying, like, I didn't know it was wrong.
Hot Boy's dad shows up and he fucking slings out the fucking revolver. He's like, yeah, that's right, Yuichi. I set up this whole game to punish you. I'm gonna fucking kill you, dude. Admit to your crimes. And Yuichi's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll admit to the crimes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did it.
So listen, here's what happened. All of you fell in love with my adoptive mom. I decided that I was gonna bilk you for all you're worth. I took all your money and you guys went insane. That's bad luck for you. Whatever.
Bad luck.
You shouldn't have fallen in love with this lady. But when my adoptive dad, the freaky con artist guy, fell in love with her, that's where I drew the line. I found him sleeping with her one day, so I stabbed him to death because fuck that guy. But then, what? I killed my mom too? And a mysterious third person? What's up with that? And he goes, yes, I did kill my mother. And the mysterious third person was the child she was carrying. Yeah. Hot Boy's dad is like, I knew it. I knew you killed a baby and a lady that I loved. And Yuichi goes, that's not all, because I killed the baby and it was yours.
Yeah.
And the guy goes insane. He's like, it was my baby, but she said she couldn't have kids. That's it. Lights out for you, buddy. And he blasts Yuichi in the fucking gut. And as Yuichi's dying, because he's still a fucking pro gamer, he's like, wait, call the game first before I'm lights out. And then for some reason, Hot Boy Dad is like, yeah, okay, let's call the game. All the votes come in. Everybody's like, damn it, even though he's dying, Yuichi's gonna win. But it turns out that Yuichi rigged the entire game so that Justice Girl would win because he always believed in her as Justice Girl. And she's like, damn, why did I doubt my friend even though he just admitted to killing 3 people, including an unborn child? I shouldn't have done that. The final Tomodachi game is played out, which is that they barely managed to keep Yuichi alive on the way to the hospital. He goes into a coma he probably won't wake up from. And his friends, quote-unquote friends, are left with the question of, do they pay for his comatose? Because, again, no free healthcare. They have to pay to keep him on the respirator.
Having universal healthcare would kind of totally nullify
I know, it would negate
the entire plot of this manga. Would all of these people be in the position to be manipulated like this if maybe we were all just a little bit better off? Like, goddamn.
Well, it turns out no, because the final reveal is that...
God, there's more?
Yes, the dying mother, who was at the center of it all, that they all fell in love with as like young people. Turns out, and again, because healthcare, she was not dying. She was running a con on all of them. She was the con artist behind it all. She was pretending to be dying, and she was trying to fuck Hot Boy's dad because he was the richest one. And as Yuichi kills his fucking adoptive dad, she goes, hey, just so you know, money actually is more important than friendship. I was lying before. And Yuichi's like, what? Wait, I thought the friendship thing. And she's like, nope, money's more important. So will you give me my heart medication? And Yuichi's like, take it back. And she's like, no. And he's like, I'm not going to give you the medication. I want you to die as the pure woman I knew and not as the weird con artist you are now. And that's his justification for killing his mother and the unborn child. And the last shot is revealed that all of his friends actually did choose to keep him alive. And 2 years later, he wakes up from the coma still believing in friendship. Whoa!
And it turns out that he was a security guard the entire time.
So that was like 2 years of my life reading this manga. And so here we are. I've explained to you the basic strokes of the whole fucking thing. Yeah, so I want to talk about my feelings of reading a manga for a very long time and then it ending like that.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can only assume that it was done better in execution.
Well, see, that's the thing I want to talk about. Now you know, essentially, I mean, you don't really know what happened.
The summary of it is so convoluted and baffling and hinging on us just accepting that characters would make like drop of the hat heel turns at any given moment.
Kinda, yeah.
Like, to have it end like that, it feels I can't put it any other way, but manipulative. It's like, hey, weren't you dumb for even trying to pay attention? Just remember that friendship works out in the end, and honestly, you would have had an easier time getting to the ending.
It is, how should I say this? Odd. It is odd.
It's odd.
It's odd. What I want to say is kind of exactly that, because my feeling overall with this story, as I explained to you, I mean, like you said, it seems frustrating and dumb, I think is kind of, if I summing up what I understand as your thoughts, is kind of around that area.
Yeah, no,
right?
that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, like pretty much frustrating and dumb. And yet, and I can't argue, but my summary would imply very objectively that this is a frustrating and dumb story. But I came out of it after almost 2 years of reading this manga straight. It hit 127 chapters. This is a long-running series. Very positive on it. And I kind of don't know why. I know a lot of it is in the execution of the little moments. And those little moments were the least structured part of a long-running serialized story. This author clearly understood where they were going. They knew right at the beginning of the story, we have Yuichi and his group of friends. We know that none of them understand that in Yuichi's past, he destroyed their parents' lives. We understand that through a series of convoluted games, all of them would have to slowly learn about Yuichi's role in destroying their lives and have that friendship that they've developed in high school tested over and over again. Like, can they trust Yuichi?
Right.
We have Yuichi himself constantly saying, I will do anything for my friends, even if it makes me seem like the villain and makes it seem like I am intentionally pushing them away from me. I will do bad things to protect our friendship. And them going, well, are those bad things worth it? Because the bad things themselves might alienate us from you. And him going, well, friendship, what does friendship mean, right? Even if I protect you from doing something bad because you're my friend and you decide not to be my friend because of what I've done, is like, is that friendship? You know, I'm not really sure. So it's constantly asking us questions like that. And in the moment to moment of the story, I feel like that's very compelling. And I wanted to lay it all out for you because I feel like when you take the macro view, the way we get from friends enter death game to multiple murderer reveals that he has destroyed the lives of everyone he knows, but that's a good thing somehow, is so dumb and weird that I find it almost perplexing that I still like this manga.
I mean, it's a credit to itself in spite of itself, when you put it that way.
Well, it makes me think a lot about serialization. You know, we talk a lot about how, especially you, prefer a short narrative form. And I think a short narrative form is, I mean, obviously advantageous in the way that you can craft a plot and the entire thing can be consumed. It is, you can wrap your head around a, let's say, 150-page comic book, right? A graphic novel.
Sure.
In a way that you cannot really wrap your head around, as I just attempted to do, 127 chapters of a long-running manga. And I think that in some ways that kind of explains why I like Tomodachi Game, even though my explanation makes it, I think, sound like garbage. Because when you are reading 127 chapters of a serialization, that overarching plot, I mean, it doesn't matter as much, does it?
Well, no, when you're reading something like that, especially when you read it as it comes out the way you did, I'm assuming you followed this series pretty much from start to end, right?
I came to it after watching the first 2 seasons of the manga. So I must have been at it must have been like chapter 40 or something when I started it. But okay. I went through it for a long time.
Mm-hmm. You know, seeing something like that where you have time to digest what happens in a chapter, you know, between releases and kind of think on it more. that definitely affects the way you process these things, as opposed to binging it. I personally, I don't think I've ever actually followed any series mostly from the start to the end. Most of the stuff that I've been reading, I came into well after it had already gained popularity in some places, or the stuff that I'm reading right now is stuff that I am just beginning to follow from the beginning.
Sure.
Which I will say, I've been reading I Hope You're Happy, Lemon for a while now. That is absolutely getting an anime adaptation at some point. It's screaming for it. Keep that on your radar.
Oh yeah, adaptation.
Yeah. Adaptation. And so in that, you know, I think the closest I can relate to it would be with Chainsaw Man right now, where I binged all of the first part, and that is almost its own self-contained thing that you can look at.
Almost.
I mean, it is.
It definitely is.
And then I did that right around the time. I think there was maybe 10 chapters of part 2 out at the time. And so that I have been following with its weekly release. And reading it that way is such a different experience in kind of understanding what the tone of each chapter is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Instead of getting it, you know, all glommed into one overarching like thing, which is what I think you're talking about.
Yes, there's kind
which
of
is
like
what you just did with the plot of Tomodachi Game.
Yes, which I tried to do. I tried to create some kind of simulacra of my experience. But what I find interesting is that there is kind of a unique experience of this, because a lot of comics like just run. There is no ending. You know, we have that experience a lot with Western comics, where like even if there is a run of Batman you like, Batman just goes.
I mean,
you know?
The end goal is to not have an ending
Exactly.
in cases like that. You are trying to, like I said last week, you're not trying to make a story, you're making a product that can continue to sell other products.
Yes. Or you have, right, something that's like fairly short and wraps itself up, which is like a beginning, middle, and end type story.
Yeah.
Which is itself a unique experience. Then, of course, you also have, which unfortunately I keep reading over and over again because I'm a sucker, the ones that go for like 40 chapters and then get canceled unceremoniously, which have no ending, which is another completely interesting and unfortunate experience. But that experience of like reading something that does have an end, but continues on for a very long time, I wanted to kind of like explore my feelings about it, because it is a weird experience. I think, again, like reading this, knowing that it was going to end, like we're clearly careening towards something, and understanding that like reading it all at once is such a different experience than reading it, you know, week to week or sometimes month to month, that story being that dumb did not matter to me, because the week to week or month to month action I found so endearing that like plot and narrative itself sort of seemed to melt away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, no, I get it.
And so it ending and having like a here's what the story was, here's the period on the whole thing, is almost surreal. And what I was going to ask you is like, how did you feel about this? But again, it seems like that you haven't had a lot of these experiences.
No, I'm working towards some, but it's yeah, it's weird. My anime journey is not really worked out to where I have, like I said, I've come into a lot of stuff in past tense, you know, recommendations, old, getting like hard drives full of old shows from other people, stuff like that. Very rarely have I sought out and tried to like follow something from start to end. The only other thing I can think of would be when I was a kid and like watching Pokemon from the first episode going forward.
Yeah.
But even that, like, you know, after a certain point, they ran out of episodes that they could effectively translate into English.
Yeah.
And so when they ran out, they just started playing them over again the way American television syndication works. And so,
yes, which is very funny.
Yeah, that may have been the closest, like, I can relate to that feeling is of not having a series end properly, is having to, you know, I guess watch Pokemon from the beginning again.
from Pokemon rolling over.
Yeah.
Back to the beginning. Oh, that reminds me. You know, I saw earlier somebody was selling a first run pristine Pokemon movie release t-shirt for about $3,000.
Well, that's a steal. We got to get on that.
It's limited edition, man. That's wild. Well,
okay, I am out of steam.
On that deflationary note, that's Tomodachi Game. I'm glad you guys experienced it with me. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I'm not sure I did. Handsome and beautiful listeners, I'm so sorry I inflicted that upon you, but if any part of that sounded interesting, I do genuinely recommend reading Tomodachi Game. I think there is something, even though some of it is very heinous, there's like not good stuff in it. I still find the characterization of my man's Yuichi to be very compelling in something that I did not get across at all in my summary, because I just did not, there's no way to do it. It is literally his characterization. But yeah, I think you should read a manga. I don't know. It's done now, so you could just go through the whole thing if you want. No agonizing over the plot at all. You won't have the same experience I did. You'll have something completely unique, but who knows? Maybe that's better that way. I'm not really sure.
Well, I hope people find out.
I hope you find out. May you find out for yourself.
Okay, with that, let's bring this episode to an end. People,
all right.
Handsome, beautiful, tall, wonderful listeners.
Send your complaints to animedeathspiral@gmail.com.
We're here. We'll respond to every single one. You'll get a personalized email from us, the hosts of Anime Death Spiral, your favorite anime podcast. If you email us.
I can commit to that. I'll do that.
Yeah, we'll answer every email.
You send me an email, I will respond to you. I promise.
Listen. Comment on the TikToks. I respond to every one. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, unless it's upsetting or awkward.
No, then I delete you and block you.
Yeah. Then it's a swift block.
All right, check us out on TikTok. Download the episodes where you find podcasts. Give us 5 stars on all the stuff where you can give us 5 stars.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts.
And with that, I'm going to say bye. Tomodachi means friend.
Keikaku means plan.